All right, it says I'm live. I never know. I never know. I do see some people already in the chat, which is very exciting. So I know that some of y'all are here. I just don't know if you can actually see me yet. So good morning to Colleen. Good morning to Teresa. Hello A217. You guys, I love your YouTube names. It cracks me up every time. I'm so used to being live on Facebook where you have to have more or less a real name. And so it's so fun to come here and be like, oh, okay, these are screen names I recognize. And I've never really thought about the fact that some of them aren't names. Because, when I see you somewhat frequently in the comments, I get to know you. I recognize your little avatar and stuff like that. So it's super funny when I start reading them as though I'm going to say hello to you. And it's not really a name. Amy, hey, that's an actual name. Hello, Amy, how are you? Coming in from Western New York. It's good to see you. And then we've got CR from York, Pennsylvania. Speaking of York, that's really funny. Kathy says, does it take longer to see change if you are short? Oh, what an interesting question. I love body shaping workouts. Thank you. That is such a great question. I am hard pressed to say that there's one really specific reason why you would take longer to see changes or it would be faster to see changes. I was gonna say some of it might have to do. No, I honestly, it really depends on just you. I mean, because it depends on so many different factors. It'll depend on your personal chemistry, we all have the same biology more or less, but we all have our own variations on that. So your body takes in your inputs. So it's not just dependent on the exercise. And this is why I'm hard pressed to say that, everybody can have the same kind of changes with any kind of workout. And I apologize. I just realized that I had not turned on my microphone. So I'm going to turn on my microphone maybe. Here we go. Now I'm going to turn on my microphone. So if you were listening later on the podcast, which is called Q&A Friday, even though today is Wednesday, I will have this up. So to those of you listening to the podcast, we're almost 2 minutes in and I totally forgot to turn on my microphone. Anyways, okay, so we're talking about when it might take longer to see body shaping results. So here's the thing about body shaping results. It's not just the workouts. And this is why I'm hard pressed to really promise you anything with any workout, because it's not just the workout. We're made up of, we're biological specimens. So we have lots of input. It depends on what you eat, what you drink, how you sleep, how your stress is, how much you sit, how much you walk, how much you do other things. It's not any one thing in isolation the way that some chemical processes are, or some, physical, physics processes are. Those things tend to exist more or less in isolation of one another. So therefore you can always predict a response. If a body in motion tends to stay in motion or a body at rest tends to stay at rest, things like that. But with biology, we're ever changing, ever evolving, ever, and I say this nicely, but ever degrading. So we're all in different places, even at the same time. Like us being the same age doesn't mean that we have the same systems going on. It doesn't mean that we have the same things going on with our bodies. So it might just take longer to see changes. And I'm also going to tell you that it could be specifically what you're looking for and how you're looking for it. If you have gotten really, really used to look at your body and thinking, ugh, your brain is really used to that. Your brain gets really, really efficient at thinking that thought. You might have, objectively made lots of changes that you simply aren't seeing because of the way you are looking at your body. So I'm going to tell you to do both things. Actually take measurements and pay attention to if you have a smart scale and things like that. And really think about what you're thinking about your body. The fact is you can actually see changes in your body without really making a whole lot of changes. You can simply look at your body and think, wow, I look fantastic, which I totally recommend. You guys, oh my gosh. I have so many people to say hello to. This chat got away from me already. We're 4 minutes in and it's already gone too fast. Jessica says, you're awesome, Paula. Thank you, Jessica. I think you're awesome too. Debbie says, good morning from Louisiana. Tanya or Tanaya, and I apologize for you guys. You guys know this if you've ever been to one of my lives. I just apologize to every single one of you for not being able to pronounce your name. It has been a lifetime thing of mine to have my name mispronounced. So I know what this feels like, and anything even remotely close and somewhat starting with a P, I just go ahead and answer to it, and I bet you do too. Not the P part, but the even close to your name. Penny says hello from Devon, UK. Cheryl says good morning. I appreciate the videos and podcasts. Thank you. Susan says hello from Tucson, Arizona. Good morning. Cindy says good morning from gloomy and chilly Minnesota. Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. Esther says ciao from Sicily. How exciting. The Adventures of Deanna says hello from St. Louis. Nancy is here from Moscow, Pennsylvania. Mary, oh my gosh, from the Netherlands. Hello, I do recognize your names. This is what I was talking about earlier, but I recognize your avatars and your screen names without thinking too hard about it. And of course, I recognize you. Karen, hello, good morning, and happy Thanksgiving tomorrow. Yes, happy Thanksgiving Eve, all of my friends. Pamela Ann says, I love your running workouts. I know you do, Pamela. I love how you comment on all of them. I'm so impressed by how much running you do. Marcella says, hello, I just came across your channel. I've never used weights. Oh my gosh, how exciting. This is such a great place to be because honestly, I mean, depending on which videos you're watching, of course, but my more recent videos, in fact, the one that just came out on Monday, it's meant to be very gentle. It doesn't mean it's going to feel super gentle on you if you've never used weights before, but it's meant to be basically an introduction. So welcome to it. I hope you love using weights, or at least like them enough to do it regularly, because it's so good for you. Amy says, love that top, very pretty. Thank you. I just got this from Amazon, you guys. I just ordered a bunch of stuff from Amazon. We're in California here. All of our try-on, I can't think of the word, dressing rooms, that's the word. All of our dressing rooms are closed because of COVID restrictions. So even if I go to a store, I can't go into a dressing room. So I'm like, well, then I might as well order online, for heaven's sakes. So I went online on Amazon. I love Amazon. And I ordered a bunch of sweaters, and I was like, well, we'll just see, won't we? And this one is super cute. It's the exact right thickness. It's really thin. So it's kind of like a shirt, but it's like knit and woven like a sweater. So it's warmer than a shirt, but it's lighter than a sweater, which here in California is perfect because I really don't need anything a whole lot heavier than this. And I was so excited, not very expensive. I will, you know what, in fact, in the replay, I'll go into the comments and I will put a link for it because it's so cute and so comfortable. Marcella says, where should I start? Marcella, this Monday's video, it was, oh my gosh, what was it called? Something about confidence building. I don't remember what the actual title was. If you go to my YouTube page, and there's a playlist like right on the front page that says fresh new workouts. It'll be the newest one. I have no idea what it was titled. I think it was probably something about 25 minutes of dumbbells or something like that. Mona says, I love your workouts. I've been doing them for about a year and feel great. We'll turn 70 in February. Oh my gosh. Happy early birthday to you. That's so exciting. Oh my gosh, my name is Magic from Bangkok. My mom and I enjoy your videos. Oh, that's so awesome. I love it. I love hearing about mother-daughter combos who do my videos, or sisters, or any kind of like family members. I've been hearing a lot about this lately, and I just love it. Working out together is the best. Cheryl says, does moderate workouts help with recovery from surgery? Oops, oh my gosh, I totally just moved this. Where were you? You guys, sometimes I realize just how bad my tech skills are. There we go. I'm going to not touch it for a second. Cheryl says, will moderate workouts help with recovery from surgery if cleared by the doctor to do so? Trying to find walking and seated workouts that will work for me after some stomach surgery a week ago. I would be really clear with your doctor about exactly what you're cleared for. Moderate is as moderate does, meaning that just because I've called something moderate doesn't mean that it's moderate for you. And this is true like literally all the time. And this is one of the things that I talk about pretty frequently, especially during workouts that I have called moderate. Just because it's moderate for me doesn't mean that it's going to feel moderate for you. And just because it's moderate doesn't mean that it's appropriate. With stomach surgery, really specifically, I would absolutely talk to your doctor about, are there moves that you shouldn't be doing? Like, should you avoid twisting or bending or crunching or something like that? I mean, even on a moderate workout, I'm thinking about crunching really specifically. No, we're not down on the ground doing crunches, but like toy soldiers, we're crunching by meeting our hands and our feet in the middle. I would just be really, really clear with your doctor about exactly what's best for you. And then you can find workouts that are appropriate after you know. Paula, hey, I love your name. Says hello from Virginia. I love your workouts. I enjoy how your workouts are great for any body type. I'm not super overweight, but I do have bad knees. I'm super happy that they work for you, Paula. That is fantastic. NB says, good morning. We are in the evening, which means you must be someplace in Europe, I assume. Hello to you. Oh my gosh, Tanya says, my dog heard your voice and was ready to start working out with you. I love that. Talk about Pavlovian, right? Joe says, you mentioned that you lost 10 pounds and gained it back, then lost it again in the last 6 or 7 months. Did you follow your weight loss for women over 50 plan? Yes, I did. Did you do more? I did not. And that was actually the entire crux of the problem. So when I lost weight in 2019, I had just come off of a whole ultra marathon season and really a couple of years of just kind of steadily putting on like a pound here and a pound there. And I found myself, it wasn't quite 10 pounds. It was like, I think 8 pounds. I had just found myself just a little bit heavier than I wanted to be. And so while I was recovering from one of my races, I knew that I had several months before I was moving into another phase of my running season. And so I lost some weight. And I lost actually the 8 pounds. And then I went directly back into ultramarathon running. And this was the problem. This is why I put it back on, because I lost the weight. I went right back to doing as much as I had been doing and put the weight back on. The reason I gained weight is because I was doing too much. So I always find it so interesting when people ask me, oh, when you were losing weight, did you do more? No, I was doing so much less, because when I do too much, I gain weight. And this is what I have learned about my body in the last 3 years. Somewhat suddenly, the things that I used to do very capably and not have any problem at all, somewhat suddenly have become too much for me. So I'm still really working to figure out exactly what my moderate is. I am maintaining my weight. I'm really happily in like a little 4-pound window, 2 pounds up or down from my goal weight. And feel really, really comfortable with the amount of work that I'm doing. I am, however, about to start filming January's weight loss series, which is 31 days in a row. And I know you guys see them one at a time, but I film them 1 and 2 at a time, and sometimes on back-to-back days. And so I'm very curious if that's going to be a little bit too much. Last year, it's ironic, when I was filming, I actually put on like 2 pounds because it was too much for me. Although at the time, when I was filming the weight loss workouts, I was also training for another ultra marathon. This was the problem. I was doing too much running and too much working out and too much everything. This time, I suspect, when I was filming the body shaping series in September, which of course I was filming in August, but when I was filming it, I actually just stopped running completely, because that way the workouts were definitely enough, and I really didn't want to add any running on top of it. So I love that people are always asking me, didn't you exercise more when you were losing weight? No, I exercised less, like way less than I wanted to. And that's how I lost weight. Getting into maintenance mode means that you can not even necessarily do more than you were doing when you were losing weight, but you can figure out exactly what your moderate is for you. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. The fact is, for losing weight, really specifically, you can lose weight without exercising at all. Exercise has almost nothing to do with weight loss. Weight loss is really, really, really primarily driven by eating the right number of calories every single day consistently. When we burn calories we burn calories 24/7, like all day, every day, your body is burning calories every single minute. Like even me just sitting here, I burned a calorie, or half me. I don't even know how many it is, but you're burning calories all the time for all of the processes that your body does. But when we have like an elevated burn for a short amount of time, if you think about that, let's say you're working out for 30 minutes, even if you're working out for an hour, there are still 23 other hours in the day that have so much more to do with what your body is going to do. When we are eating really consistently in that slight caloric deficit, that's how you lose weight. It has almost nothing to do with the slight elevation of your calorie burn during a workout. When you think about over the course of a day, depending on how much you weigh, you're going to burn, I'm going to throw out a number and it may or may not apply to you. It really, really depends on a lot of different factors, but you're burning, let's say, about 1,500 calories a day, just naturally existing in the world. When you have an elevated calorie burn where during a half an hour, and again, if you're burning 1,500 calories a day, that means that you're burning, oh my gosh, I cannot do math. You're burning, what, 75-ish calories an hour? Somebody correct me on this. I have no idea. But then for a short amount of time, you're burning slightly more than that. Let's say that you burn 200 instead of the 75. That's really only a net increase of like 100 and something. So you're not really burning a ton of calories. And even if you're working out really hard or working out longer, there's like a point of diminishing returns where working out too hard actually causes a whole chain of reaction in your body that can cause your body to store fat instead of burning it. And without knowing exactly where that point of diminishing returns is, there's really no point in trying to manipulate that calorie burn a whole lot, especially when you have 100% control over what comes into your body. And honestly, you actually have very little control of what goes out of your body. Your body is going to burn how and when and where and from what energy source it's gonna. You don't have any switches to flip where you're like, hey, take it from fat and take it from fat from my butt if you don't mind. No, your body's going to do what it's going to do. So rather than focusing on what you really truly don't control, focus on what you do control. And then it makes everything else easier. When you're controlling what you eat and you're eating the right amount of calories every single day, your body loses weight. I mean, it's relatively straightforward. Relatively. There's a lot more to it than that, but relatively straightforward. Teresa says, do you have specific exercises for strengthening ankles? Oh, that's so interesting. Mine are kind of weak, and I believe in being strong from the ground up. I totally agree. And that's actually one of the reasons why I exercise barefoot. It doesn't mean that you necessarily need to exercise barefoot. If you have never gone barefoot before, I would strongly suggest that you just start by being like in your house, like walking around a little bit in your house barefoot. Even that little bit will help a lot to like start building up your ankle strength. If you have like really specific concerns, I would talk to a physical therapist just because they'll really, really be able to hone in and give you like, here's 5 exercises that you can do for, strengthening your ankles. For me personally, I have strengthened my ankles over time by working out barefoot because when you don't have shoes helping you balance, your ankles really have to put in more work. But again, if you've never done it before, I'm going to caution you to start off really, really, really gently, like slow walking around your house. And then you can build up from there doing like strength training workouts where we're not really moving around very much. And then from there, I would probably go to very, very, very short walking sessions, like literally 10 minutes at max. Then you could possibly do very, very short, low impact cardio. And then you can gradually build up over time from that. My barefoot exercising journey, I'm like 10 years in at least. In fact, I think even more than that. I'm about 10 years in. That's why I can do all the things that I do. It took me years to build barefoot strength, like years, literally. So don't be concerned if it takes you a long time. And really, ankle strength, just like any kind of strength, it's going to take you months before you have enough strength built up that you really notice it. And I mean that nicely. I know that didn't sound like super encouraging, but specifically something like that, it's going to take you a while before you really notice progress. Like it's a skill like balance skills. Like some days it's great, some days it's lousy. And then over time, 6 months or more, you start to notice, oh, hey, I don't really wobble as much as I used to. That's what you can look for. You're not suddenly going to be super strong on your feet. That's just not really how our bodies work. Tina says, will you please discuss how cardio helps menopause symptoms? This is such a good question. I actually, I have a video coming out next week where I talked a little bit about not all menopause symptoms, but really specifically moodiness. With moodiness, really, really, really specifically, cardio is really, really specifically helpful just because it is a mood elevator. When you get your heart rate up, your body releases endorphins. And I mean, every time I say the word endorphins, I cannot help but think of Legally Blonde. People who have endorphins don't kill their husbands. They just don't. So cardio really specifically helps with moodiness because it is a mood elevator. It's there's no such thing as a cure-all for everything. What's going on with your body really specifically in menopause is it's a very biological thing. It's very individual. There are general things that may happen, but how they happen and in what strength they happen really going to depend on you personally, your inputs, your ability to sleep, your ability to manage your mind, what you're eating, how much water you're drinking, all those kinds of things. Exercise helps in the same way that it helps literally everything with your health. It helps because it helps lower your heart rate, your resting heart rate. It helps lower your blood pressure in general. It helps give you like a physical release sometimes for some of your emotional and mental feelings, really specifically. Again, as the mood elevator, it can help calm you down. It can actually help you sleep better. Sleeping better helps with a lot of things. As far as really specifically, because you might be asking about hot flashes, I have to tell you, I don't understand the mechanism of hot flashes. I have done almost no reading about hot flashes really specifically. So I don't know if cardio really specifically will help with hot flashes. Other menopause symptoms that you don't specifically notice but that are super important are things like losing bone density and losing muscle mass. This is where exercise in general, not cardio, but far more strength training can really be helpful to keep your muscles and bones working the way that they're supposed to and to keep them as strong as possible for as long as possible. There's really no downside to exercising regularly is kind of the overall picture here. For me personally, one of the things that I have found is that when my body is reacting differently to things that I used to think that I knew, I can do X, Y, or Z. Having a routine for myself that still feels very satisfying and still mentally helps me feel strong and in control and happy and mostly in control, because sometimes menopause feels a little bit out of control. I feel like my body is changing and it's different and it's kind of weird. And so having a routine and still working on my strength and working on things that make me feel empowered and good and strong, that's what's been the most helpful to me while I'm kind of watching what all is going on with my body. So that wasn't maybe the most scientific answer, and I'll tell you that I don't have all the science answers. Even scientists don't have all the science answers. There are a lot of mysteries about menopause that the doctors just don't know. It's why sometimes we have a hard time getting help with our specific symptoms. I will still send you to your doctor if you're having a really specific symptom that feels very problematic to you. I'm always going to tell you to talk to your doctor. Whether or not your doctor is helpful, I apologize. I don't know if he or she will be, but I still suggest that you talk to your doctor just because there are some medical interventions that might be helpful for you specifically. Okay, that was a long answer. Okay, you guys. Tanya says, hi, Paula, and happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Adriana says a virtual hug from Italy. Thank you. Michelle says at the end of each workout, you have us give ourselves a pat on the back, and I think we should give you a round of applause. You are so sweet. Thank you, Michelle. Oh my gosh, we've got people here from Utah and Texas, the Netherlands, from Boston, from Philadelphia. I love it. Ashley says, hi, Paula. I have been doing the Learn to Run guide and am an intermediate exerciser with a good amount of muscle to maintain. How much strength should I be doing to maintain without doing too much? I love this question. The too much question, and actually there was another question over on Facebook that was talking about doing enough. Too much and enough are so subjective, and it's why my answer is going to be very loosey-goosey, good luck, you can figure it out, but you can figure this out. What you'll want to do, I personally do strength work, like dedicated strength work, about twice a week. I do a little bit of strength work a little more often than that. Like I personally do core strengthening I wish I could say every day. I'm going to say most days. Most days I do a little bit of core strengthening. I do either walk or run. Again, I'm going to say every day. I go for a walk as often as not these days. And then for me personally, it really depends on whether or not I'm filming. So on a day when I'm filming, I don't necessarily go for a walk because I know what I'm going to be filming. Sometimes it's cardio. So I really balance out what I'm filming versus what I'm doing for, myself in that sense. So what I would suggest is that you're doing 2 really dedicated strength days. And depending on what you prefer and what feels good to you, you could either do 2 totally dedicated strength days. Right now, as you're learning to run, you really don't want to be running every day anyways. As you get more into running and you are running slightly longer, what you might do is rather than having 2 dedicated strength days is do a little bit of strength several days, like 3 or 4, possibly even 5, like 10, maybe 15 minutes. So that you're doing a little bit of running and a little bit of strength, basically almost every day. And then you've got your recovery activities on the other days. As far as figuring out what's too much, I'm going to tell you 2 things. Number 1 is that your body will change when you change your routine. So when you're talking about, I have a good amount of muscle to maintain, you may or may not maintain that. And that's, in so many ways. Changing your routine means that you're going to change your body. And some of it'll be obvious and some of it won't be. I rarely really notice what's going on unless I'm looking for changes. You might notice as you do more cardio that you don't have quite as much muscle in quite the same places that you had when you were doing a lot more strength. That's going to be really up to you as to whether or not that's a good change. For some people, that's a great change. For some people, it's not. It really depends on what you enjoy. And rather than thinking super hard about, I have to maintain this muscle and I want to run, I would encourage you to think about, this is a routine that I really enjoy, and this is what my body is going to do with this routine. And kind of balancing what you enjoy with what results you get and what results you'd like to get. It's very difficult. It's not impossible. Well, it's very difficult to be both a bodybuilder and a long distance runner. Let's just say it like that. Like, those are kind of extremes on that. You can meet in the middle and do some running and some, like bodybuilding, body shaping kind of work and feel very confident and very happy with your results. But if you want to do more of one or more of the other, you're going to have to figure out how to balance the other side of things. And that's really going to come down to what you enjoy. Totally going to come down to what you enjoy. And as far as how do you know what's too much, pay attention. It's the only way I know. There's no chart that I have that's like, if you do 21 minutes, that's 1 minute too much, and here's how your body is going to react, as opposed to doing 20 minutes. For me, I'm fine. And then all of a sudden my body gives me lots of signals that this was too much. Here's how I notice that it's too much. I feel puffy. I always do my fingers like this because I feel puffy in my fingers when my body has like an inflamed response. I feel a little bit crabby. I feel a little bit too tired. And I almost always have something show up on the scale. It almost always shows up as a weight gain on the scale. And it's not dramatic, but it's pretty fast that boom, I'm up, 1.5 pounds, 2 pounds, sometimes as much as 3 pounds, basically overnight, because yesterday and the day before, sometimes it's a cumulative response, sometimes it's one time that's too much. You're really going to need to pay attention and kind of play around with it before you can figure out your exact sweet spot. And that's true for all of us. Truly, for all of us, we all have to figure out what's too much. And as far as figuring out what's enough, honestly, you can't really trust your brain on that one. Your brain is always going to offer you that it's never enough. And that's where some of the mental work will really have to come in. When you know the right thing to do, it can help with the monkey chatter in your brain that says that wasn't enough. I fight that off every day myself, where my brain is like, you used to be able to do more. And I'm like, yeah, but right now this is exactly perfect for the results that I want and for what I can do and what I want to do. Honestly, I don't have ultra running goals right this minute. I might again in the future, but right this minute, I don't even have 5K goals because there aren't any going on locally. So when you can talk to yourself about what is enough and what is the right thing for your goals, that's going to be the really, in my opinion, the really important part of it. Having your brain on board with what you're doing is the best thing that you can do for your workout routine. Colleen says, yes, about self-talk. For over a decade, I've been overweight, still am, but I've been losing weight and getting into clothes I wouldn't have worn ever. I'm having to change my self-talk. Absolutely. Absolutely. For me, that was the most challenging part of weight loss. Not this most recent time, but 14 years ago when I lost weight, I had no experience seeing myself as a thin, fit person. I had been thin before, but then gained it back and thin and gained it back and thin and gained it back. I'd never actually been fit the way that I am now. And that took a while. It took a while to see myself that way. It took a while to just practice thinking, no, this weight is gone forever. I'm good here. I feel really sure that this is who I am and how I want to be now. And that took a while. And it's just practice. That's all it is. Sometimes we make it harder than it is, but really it's just practicing. Look in the mirror and tell yourself, yep, I'm a runner now, or yep, I'm thin now, or yep, I'm fit now. Whatever it is that you're struggling with, simply practice saying it to yourself and it'll get more real over time. Julia says, good afternoon. Oh my gosh, I keep doing this thing where all of a sudden the chat skips like halfway down the road. And I realize just how many hellos I have missed. Oh my gosh. So Julia is saying hello from the UK. And Marcella asks if I can link the sweater. I can. I will do that I'll have to do it in the chat later because I don't have the link anywhere right now that I could get to it quickly. So I'll have to do that later. Oh, awesome. People are talking about how you're figuring out your own moderate. I love it. A217 says, I love your running intervals. What's the best way to motivate myself to run regularly? Oh, that's so interesting. And what about pre and post run nutrition? What should I be eating and drinking before and after a run? I will tell you that pre and post nutrition, there are plenty of people who have really strong opinions about how important this is or that is. And here's what I'm going to tell you. Nothing is more important than what your stomach tells you. Some people can eat and drink right before a run. Some people cannot. That is the most important thing. For me personally, I actually am capable of eating and drinking right before a run, and I'm capable of eating and drinking during a run, like a long run, obviously not like a mile. I, however, don't feel great if I put something in my stomach immediately afterwards. Lots of fitness professionals will be like, oh no, the 30 minutes right after your workout is the most important time. That's when you have to get your nutrients, blah, blah, blah. And I will tell you, I personally, if I eat or drink immediately after a workout, there are no nutrients that are going to stay with me. So this is what I'm going to tell you. Practice, pay attention, and see what works for you. As far as motivating yourself to run regularly, I'm going to ask you why you're not motivated. That's super interesting. For me, I feel like the best motivation is enjoyment. And if you're not enjoying it a lot, that could be why you don't feel motivated to do it. And I would just really pay attention to that. What are you telling yourself about going for a run? Like, is it going to be hard? Am I going to get too sweaty? I'm going to have trouble breathing. When you're saying those things to yourself, that's why you're not feeling motivated. That's absolutely what it comes down to. And it is going to be hard, and you are going to be sweaty, and you might have trouble regulating your breathing. For me, when I very first started running, it was so easy for me to pay attention to the endorphins afterwards. I felt so elated afterwards that I didn't even remember feeling breathless or having difficulty like at the beginning of it or even during. So my brain very naturally went to, oh my gosh, if you run, it's going to feel amazing. Your brain might be offering you different information about how difficult running is. I would just listen in on that. When you, and this goes for everybody, when you find yourself not feeling motivated, that feeling isn't coming from nowhere. It doesn't just exist in a vacuum and then poof, show up in your body. That feeling comes from thoughts that you're having. There are thoughts that you are having that are causing you to feel unmotivated. Find the thoughts. And this is the thing about thoughts in your head. They're not the truth. There's simply something that your brain is offering you, that it has offered you a million times before, that you've gotten really efficient at hearing and thinking, and it feels like the truth. But when your brain is offering you, oh, running is really hard, it's not. And it is. I mean, it's both true and untrue, and that's how you know that it is a thought and not a fact. Sometimes running feels very difficult. Sometimes running feels very easy. Sometimes running feels very somewhere in the middle. Running is not factually hard. Hard is an opinion. And if your brain is offering you that as an opinion, you can say, oh yes, I hear what you're offering me, but I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway. You'll want to think something on purpose that helps you feel motivated in order to feel motivated. Motivation doesn't come out of the blue. It comes from your thoughts. Find motivating thoughts and practice thinking them. Destiny's Child says, hi, Paula, my first live. Oh, that's so exciting. I'm from Berlin, Germany. I would like to know, what are your goals in running? Okay, so my goals right this minute are modest compared to years past, and kind of, I don't have running goals right this minute. I had some really big running goals at the beginning of the year. On January 1st of 2020, how long ago was that, right? On January 1st of 2020, I had the goal of running another 110K this year. I was actually going to do more ultra running because there was a race that I did in 2018 that I really wanted to revisit. Well, come to find out that race got canceled long before COVID even. That race got canceled. And so then my plan was to do whatever it would be, 22 5Ks over the course of the year, because I thought that actually sounded really fun. And so I signed up for a bunch of 5Ks early on. And again, before COVID, I signed up for a bunch of 5Ks, and they all started in March, and every single one of them was canceled. So I had this grand plan of racing 22 5Ks that then also got scrapped. And so now I'm going to go through my stats for the year, because 5K distance feels really comfortable to me right now. I run it like almost every time I run. I basically run 5K, and I'm curious if I'm going to be able to hit like maybe 100 5K runs this year. And I need to look through my stats on Strava and find out. I have no idea. As far as 2021, I haven't even started thinking about my running goals yet. I honestly don't know what running and racing is going to look like. And I think for the first time in 14 years, I might not have running goals next year. It's a weird thought. It's a really weird thought. But I will probably challenge myself to do something. I mean, kind of like the 22 5Ks, or like seeing if I can get up to 100 5K just runs this year. I'll probably still do something like that, just because I really enjoy ticking boxes and saying, oh, look at this cool thing that I did, just to myself, not necessarily to other people. I enjoy challenging myself. And so I will probably still pick something, but I don't know what yet. That's such a good question. I can't wait to figure it out. Oh, Alyssa says, a group of us connect each evening for a Pahla B workout. I love it. That is so cool. So much fun. Oh, people are saying such nice things. I appreciate it. Jessica says, I'm 40. Do you feel your workouts for women over 50 are just as beneficial, or should I do more? Such an interesting question about doing more. Jessica, I'll tell you, it totally depends on what you are trying to get out of it. And I will tell you the same thing that I will tell anybody of any age at any time. There is always, no matter your age, there is always a point of diminishing returns on the workout. Your body can handle X amount of work, and I don't know what amount that is. For you personally, maybe, but I'm also going to ask you what you think you're going to get out of it, because this is the real question that I think people are asking me. Shouldn't I do more? Because people in general, maybe you, maybe other people, think that doing more work will get more results, or will get results faster. And again, this is where I will talk to you about the point of diminishing returns. Maybe, maybe not. And that doesn't have everything to do with just like the physical side of it. Physically, yes, doing too much work will cause your body to go into fat storage eventually. Here's why. Your body is meant to handle a certain amount of stress, and it's different for everybody, which again is why I can't tell you exactly how much stress you can handle. But both mental stress and physical stress get seen the same way by your body. If you're, angry at your boss or you've done, an hour-long workout, it's not like a one-to-one correlation, but your body still perceives stress. When your body perceives stress, it sends out like all kinds of different things to try and counteract the stress. One of the things that it sends out is inflammation, so that it can then clear that up and help you get stronger. When your stress is mental or emotional, there's no like physical thing to do with your muscles or your bones, which is why your body kind of just keeps sending out inflammation. And this is problematic. I mean, it's one of the reasons why chronic stress can actually cause like chronic diseases, because your body is reacting to something in a way that it's supposed to, but it is an input that is different from the way your body evolved. Your body evolved to take care of physical stress, but now we have mental stress, and your body is still trying to take care of it in the same way, but there's not the physical stress to do something with, and it can lead to problems. And anyways, what I was saying is that your body can clear X amount of stress. And beyond that, your body's reaction to stress, because way back in caveman times, the only stress that we had came from famine, came from lack of food. Therefore, your body's one response to that, like a chronic stress situation, was to store fat, because that way you could be protected. You could survive the winter. Your organs are protected. That's why we get belly fat specifically, because your body is trying to protect your trunk, your torso, where all the important stuff is, so that you can survive the winter with no food. This is why I can't tell you that you should do more. It's always going to be your inputs and your life that makes the difference in how you find what is your max capacity. But here's what I'm going to tell you. You can get tons of results without getting anywhere near your max capacity. You never need to get all the way up to max capacity if you don't want to. The goal of being fit isn't to see how much you can do. It's actually to see how little you can do and still get results. Like when you think about it as a game, like how little can I exercise and still look and feel and be able to do the things that I want to do? That's what you're aiming for. Because doing more simply for the sake of doing more, I mean, yeah, sometimes it's kind of fun. I mean, like what I was just talking about challenging myself with, finding a number of 5Ks or something like that. There's a challenge point, but then there's also like, in order to maintain that level of fitness, you're going to have to keep doing that amount, or possibly more, once your body adapts to it and, makes adaptations and gets more efficient at it. So I'm always aiming for doing less. It's perfectly okay to squeak in at the bare minimum and still get all the results that you want. I would start looking at it that way personally. Oh, I love it. Alyssa says, you've helped me to slow down, like really slow down, and I was able to become aware of posture issues. Isn't that so interesting that sometimes we're so intent on going that we don't even notice things that are going on with our body like that? I love it. It's so interesting. Shauna says that she loved the kettlebell workout. Yay! I'm so excited. So excited. So Crystal Lee says, how do I figure out how many calories I am consuming from the foods that I do create from scratch? And she explains that she makes, excuse me, my hair is shedding as it often does, almond milk, coconut yogurt, things like that. Google, honestly, here's the thing about knowing how many calories are in anything. It's always a guess. It's always a guess. It's always an estimation. And for you personally, like, here's the thing, an apple, I mean, obviously, I feel like it's pretty obvious that every single apple in the entire world is not going to have the same number of calories. And yet, if you Google it, they all say it's about 100 calories for a medium apple. Well, what's medium? And some apples, are more ripe. Some apples are less ripe. Some apples have like more sugar to them. So they're going to have like probably a couple more calories. Like, it's always an estimation. And the thing that I find so fascinating is that your body, based on your inputs, how much sleep you've had, how much water you're drinking, the other things that you've eaten all day and for the last, 10 years of your life or whatever, all of your personal chemistry and biology can affect how many of the calories that you personally even absorb and can use. So just if you could prove that an apple had 100 calories, that doesn't mean that you're getting 100 calories out of it when you eat it. So fascinating. So, and I say this not to like dissuade you from counting your calories. If you're trying to lose weight, I totally think you should count calories. It's the simplest method, but it's never going to be 100% accurate. And being on board with that and simply just writing it down or putting it in your app and being okay with the fact that it's close enough and that you can still get results by being aware. That's what I'm aiming for with you. I would Google it, because if you know how many almonds you're putting into your almond milk, you can make a guess as to exactly how many calories you're extracting from that. And that's all I have for you, honestly. I would just Google it and be really on board with the fact that it's an estimation, because it always is. It really always is. Pat says, good morning. I'm at a plateau for over 6 months. Should I do your weight loss workouts or the body toning? What an interesting question. Neither one of those are going to help you get off of a plateau. Here's the thing about a plateau. And for over 6 months, I would say that it's really time to assess a lot of what's going on. Like really, really take a good look at all of your numbers. Yes, calories are the primary driver of weight loss, but there are other factors that might be affecting you personally. When you find yourself at a plateau for that long, my go-to answer is that you might have some kind of thought, some kind of mindset issue that's really stopping you from getting below a certain number. I have found, working with hundreds of clients and working with myself, I mean, this became incredibly clear to me personally, that sometimes there are some numbers that we attach meaning to. And when we attach that meaning to it, for good or for bad or for whatever, it can make it very difficult to break through, and we create a plateau for ourselves. And I know that if you are relatively new to mindset work, that might sound really, hocus pocus, really kind of goofy. But when we have a thought, let me tell you a really specific story. There was a weight that I was when my sister died, that I really struggled over the past 2 years. So when I lost weight last year and then losing weight again this year, that number really had some meaning to me. And the meaning was, honestly, it was so illogical. And this was what was funny about discovering this thought in my head. I was thinking to myself, oh, well, I can't weigh less than that because I can't ever be as happy as I was when my sister was alive. As though your weight has anything to do with happiness. Happiness is totally, again, happiness is a feeling, comes from your thoughts. So it was a super illogical thing to be telling myself. And yet that number on the scale really felt like a barrier. Like if I got underneath that number, which by the way, I was underneath that number for years and years and years. This wasn't like, oh, the thinnest I've ever been. No, this was a weight that I was like, just, it happened to be the weight that I was when she died. I'd been thinner than that for years before that. So getting back down to that number really felt like a barrier to me. And I really struggled with it. And I've talked about it in a couple of different videos, really specifically in a Let's Run podcast, which is now the Fitness Matters podcast. If you don't listen to the Fitness Matters podcast, I suggest that you do. I've got lots of good stuff over there. But it was how I lost weight at 49 during menopause. And I talked and cried on camera about that number and how it was really difficult for me. What happens when we have a thought, it leads to a feeling. For me, that feeling was, I'm going to say sadness, but I think it was a little bit more complicated than that. But that feeling of maybe even fear, like I feared that I couldn't get below that number. It caused me to do things, because your thoughts create your feelings and then your feelings drive your actions. So that feeling of kind of fear of getting below that number was driving really subtle actions. On paper, everything still looked like I was eating my calories and I was drinking my water, but it was just a little bit off. It was a little bit over on calories, a little bit under on water. I was still sleeping, but maybe I wasn't sleeping quite as much. I was still more or less managing my stress, but I had this kind of stressful thought going through my head, so I wasn't really managing my stress. It was very, very subtle. Looking at it on paper, it was very difficult to decide that this was like a physical issue, but I was doing a little bit outside of what I had gotten success from, and it stopped my success. So it was still a physical issue that wouldn't have necessarily showed up if I was just looking at the numbers. And this is why I suggest that you absolutely look at your numbers. Look at how many calories you're eating. See what's going on with that. Look at what you're doing with your exercise. It could very well be that you've just kind of incrementally crept up, doing a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. Maybe you've found that spot where you're doing too much. I'm going to put it in the air quotes because everybody's too much is different. For you, there might be something really subtle going on, and you're just going to have to be a scientist about it. Look at everything, and look at everything with a really open mind, because what I did was I looked at it and I was like, everything's fine here, and I should be able to lose weight. But when you're looking at it like that, if you are looking for evidence of everything's fine here and I just can't lose weight, that is what you are going to create in your life. Again, that is a thought. I can't lose weight turns into a feeling of desperation or frustration. And from there, you will create for yourself a situation in which you cannot lose weight. So really being mindful of what you're thinking about your weight loss process, and being really, really scientific and just really open about looking at the numbers, being really clear about exactly what was working when you had some success and what is not working now, and whether or not you may be doing too much, maybe eating too little or too much. Generally speaking, most of the women I work with are eating too little, so I'm reluctant to tell you that you're eating too much, but maybe that's what it is. There are lots of little things that you might not have noticed as they were creeping in that direction until you take a really just open-hearted, I'm just going to be a scientist about this, and none of this has anything to do with my value as a human being, and I'm going to be really open to whatever the numbers tell me. Just take a look at what the numbers are telling you. Take a look at what your brain is telling you. There's an answer here, and I have no idea what it is. I apologize. I have no idea what it is. It's almost never the workout, just so you know. It's almost never the workout unless you're doing too much. And that's why I'm not going to recommend the body shaping, because the body shaping is almost definitely going to be too much. Doing more, again, coming back to you're trying to do as little as possible and still get the results you want. I would not suggest that you do more exercise. I know that's the craziest advice from a fitness professional. I'm going to tell you to do less exercise. Deborah says, what about HIIT? Do you burn more calories during and after? Here's the thing about burning more. Burning what you burn is not something that you have control over. Where your body gets those calories from is the thing that you don't control. Your body, what happens? Okay, we take in food. Taking in food, yes, it's still an estimation. It's still a guess, but we know approximately how many calories we're taking in. That is the most controllable part of this process. We know approximately what we're taking in. What your body does with it is somewhat mysterious, but it's more or less what you've taken in. Then your body stores it. You don't use the energy that you're eating immediately. Like if you used it, like if it was literally in, out, you'd have to be eating all day long, like all day. You'd never be able to sleep. So your body takes it in and then it stores it like a battery in a couple of different places. It doesn't all go to fat. Your body stores the energy for you to have quickly or a little bit slower or long-term in a couple of different places. You have no control at all where your body gets energy from when you are burning energy out. So when I'm telling you, oh yes, you burn more calories during HIIT, you burn more calories after a strength training workout, and then because you've built muscle, you're burning more calories all day, every day. Yes, those things are scientifically true, but that doesn't mean that you're burning fat. When people tell you that you can burn fat, they can't guarantee that. I can't guarantee that. I've told you you're burning fat before. Some of my really old workouts say fat burning. Maybe you are, maybe you aren't. Honestly, in all reality, you are very likely burning fat when you sleep. Very, very likely. Because we sleep for such a long period of time, and when you are in a caloric deficit, eventually your body will burn fat when it decides to. We have no control where the storage unit is that feeds a particular thing. When we are exercising, doesn't mean that our body is tapping into fat. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's tapping into very short-term storage. Sometimes it's tapping into longer-term storage. Sometimes it's tapping into the longest-term storage. You don't control that. And therefore, it's not really worth your time to worry about it. Honestly, it's one of those things that's like, this is a mystery of the universe, excuse me, that we have some understanding of. I mean, we understand the mechanical processes that our bodies go through, but it doesn't do that every single time. It's not like physics. It's not like a chemical reaction, even though it is a chemical reaction. It's a chemical reaction in a biological vessel. Your body has lots of things going on that scientists don't understand. So any kind of rudimentary understanding that I have of it is just that, rudimentary. But even the people whose job it is to figure this stuff out can't figure it all out, because so much of it depends on your personal inputs. If every single human being on the entire face of the planet ate the exact same food, slept the exact same amount, drank the exact same amount of, pure clean drinking water, and didn't have any like mental stress, then we would be able to figure out some scientific processes. But because everybody's inputs are different, we're all really hard pressed to say this is exactly what you will get out of it. Okay, you guys, I have time for like one or two more questions. And here's the thing. I'm going to hold this to an hour today for a couple of reasons. Number one is that it's the day before Thanksgiving and I have cooking to do. You might also. Number two, it makes it slightly easier to find the answer to your question because it's a little bit shorter if you're listening later on the podcast or watching later on the replay. And also because, you guys, I'm going to see you every single Wednesday during the month of December. While I am filming January's whole series of workouts, I'm not going to have new workouts on the channel in December, but I am going to see you and answer questions and talk to you about stuff and help you get ready for January's series, which is super, super exciting. I will still, of course, have the mini challenge. If you have not signed up for that, you should definitely sign up for it. It's workouts that are just like totally ready for you for no matter what your goal is. It's weight loss workouts or body shaping workouts, planned, prepared. All you got to do is get it in your email inbox and click play and boom, you're good to go. So I will still have content for you. I mean, I always have the mini challenge. I'll have podcasts for you, but I'm going to be live every single Wednesday talking about all this kind of good stuff to help you get the answers that you want so that we can all make 2021 fantastic. Okay, so let me see if I can find one more relatively quick question. Oh, you know what? This one's really quick. Oh my gosh. And then I lost. Oh my gosh, you guys, I tell you what, I'm going to figure out like how to not be so funny with chat because I have such a difficult time finding what I'm looking for when I accidentally go too far. Okay. Oh, this is so interesting. Okay, this one's, hopefully this will be relatively quick. So Patricia asked, are all weights the same or are they meant for different purposes? I have regular hand weights, Pilates hand weights, and egg weights. And then there are Nubel weights. I actually don't even know what that is. That's so interesting. So yes, in a very broad sense, they are all meant for the same thing. Having something external to your body that weighs something is a form of resistance training. When we are moving our bodies, your body got very efficient at that. We move our bodies all the time. Your body is meant to get more efficient at doing whatever it does all the time. So when we pick up something heavy, put it back down again, we are asking our body to do something different, something unusual, something that we don't do all the time. When we do that, we send all kinds of signals to our body to get better, to make adaptations and get more efficient at that thing. So all weights are meant to be resistant. That's what we're doing when we're picking up something heavy and putting it back down again. We are resisting gravity differently than just with our own body weight. Different kinds of weights are shaped differently and are meant to be used differently for Again, very similar adaptations. You're trying to make your body stronger. You're trying to make your bones more dense. You're trying to get your muscles to be thicker and more dense by, gaining muscle tone. That is going to be the result that you're going to get from any kind of weight, is that you will help your bone density and you will help your muscle tone. Really specifically, I'm thinking about the difference between like hand weights and kettlebells. This is where I notice the difference. When we use kettlebells, like we did on last week's workout, I was wearing blue and I had cheetah pants. This is how I know my workouts, what I was wearing. I was wearing cheetah pants, and we did a dumbbell workout with kettlebell moves. Those moves, the exercises, are really dynamic. They're power moves. You're not just standing still and pulling in your core and moving something very carefully and very controlled. We were moving our bodies. We were getting power out of our bodies. So you're going to get a slightly different result from that, meaning that, for example, when we're doing like a biceps curl with a hand weight, we're not completely isolating the biceps muscle. You've probably heard me talk about this in more than one video. We're not completely isolating the biceps muscle, but we're more or less isolating the biceps muscle. Like, that's what's getting the most benefit from a biceps curl. When we are doing a kettlebell type exercise and we're like doing a snatch, we're going to get benefit in our glutes. We're going to get benefit in our abs. We're going to get benefit in our chest and our shoulder and our arm by this big dynamic movement that uses lots of different muscle groups. That's going to be the difference between your weights, is the exercises. The exercises are still going to increase your muscle mass, possibly decrease your fat mass. I'm not making any promises. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. Probably increase your bone density. So you're getting the same thing differently from different exercises, and possibly from different weights. The reason I'm clarifying this one again is because, like that workout that we did last week, I had a dumbbell in my hand, but I was doing kettlebell exercises. So it's not the weight, it's how you're using it. You're always going to increase your muscle mass, hopefully decrease fat mass if you have fat mass to decrease, and you're going to be increasing your bone density, hopefully. But where you see those results and how they will show up could be different. I hope that was helpful. That felt like kind of a convoluted answer. So hopefully that was helpful. You guys, hopefully it's always helpful. Like always, always, always. I'm so happy to see you today. I hope, for my American bees and for anybody who celebrates, I hope that you have a fantastic Thanksgiving, and I will see you. Oh my gosh, I'll see you next Wednesday. Have a wonderful day, you guys.